The Adventure of the Noble Bachelor. The Lord Saint Simon marriage and how it ended have stopped being interesting in the high society where the unlucky groom lives. New scandals are happening, and their exciting details make people forget the old story from 4 years ago. But I think the whole truth was never told to the public. My friend Sherlock Holmes helped solve the case a lot, so I want to tell a little about this strange story in my notes about him. A few weeks before I got married, when I still lived with Holmes on Baker Street, he came home after a walk and saw a letter on the table. I stayed inside all day because it was raining and very windy. I had a bullet in my leg from my time in Afghanistan and it was hurting. I sat in one chair with my legs on another, reading many newspapers. After I got tired of the news, I looked at the big crest and letters on the envelope and wondered who sent it. "This is a very fancy letter," I said when Holmes came in. "Before, your letters were from a fish seller and a coast guard." "Yes, my letters are from all kinds of people," he said with a smile. "The simple ones are usually more interesting. This letter looks like one of those boring invitations where a man must go but does not want to." He opened the letter and read it fast. "Maybe this one is interesting after all," he said. "Not a party invite?" "No, it is about work." "From a very important person?" "One of the most important in England." "Congratulations, my friend." "Thank you, Watson, but for me it is more important what the case is about, not who sends it. Still, this new case might be interesting too. Have you been reading the newspapers lately?" "It looks like it," I said sadly, showing a big pile of papers. I had nothing else to do. "Good, because you may help me. I only read crime news and advice pages. The advice pages teach a lot. If you have read the news well, you know about Lord Saint Simon and his wedding." "Yes, I followed it very closely." "That is good. This letter is from Lord Saint Simon. I will read it to you. You must look at these papers and find anything about it. Here is what he wrote. "Dear Mr. Sherlock Holmes, Lord Backwater told me to trust your judgment and care. So I want to meet you and talk about a sad thing that happened with my wedding. Mr. Lestrade from Scotland Yard is working on this, but he says he does not mind your help. He even thinks you may help a lot. I will come at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. If you are busy, please change your plans because this is very important. Yours truly, Robert St. Simon." It was written at Grosvenor Mansions with a quill pen. The noble lord got ink on the outside of his right pinky finger, Holmes said as he folded the letter. "He says 4 o'clock. It is 3 now. He will come in 1 hour. Then I have just enough time, with your help, to understand the case. Look through those papers and put the parts in order by a date. I will check who our client is." He took a red-covered book from a row of books by the fireplace. "Here he is," he said, sitting down and opening the book on his knee. "Lord Robert Walsingham de Vere St. Simon, second son of the Duke of Balmoral. Arms, blue shield, 3 spiked balls at the top over a black stripe. Born in 1846. He's 41 years old, which is a good age for marriage. He was Under-Secretary for the Colonies not long ago. His father, the Duke, was once Secretary for Foreign Affairs. They come from the Plantagenet family and the Tudor family on his mother's side." "Ah, but this is not very useful. I think I need you, Watson, to find something more real." "I can find what I want easily," I said, "because the facts are recent and the story was very strange. I did not tell you before because I knew you had a case and did not like to be disturbed." "Oh, you mean the small problem with the furniture van in Grosvenor Square? That is all solved now, even though it was clear from the start. Please, give me the news you found." Here is the first news I found. It is in the personal section of the Morning Post from some weeks ago. A marriage has been arranged, it says, and will probably happen soon between Lord Robert St. Simon, second son of the Duke of Balmoral, and Miss Hattie Doran, the only daughter of Aloysius Doran, esq. From San Francisco, California, USA. That is all. Short and clear, said Holmes, stretching his long, thin legs towards the fire. There was a longer piece in a society paper the same week. Here it is. Soon there will be a need to protect the marriage market because the current free trade idea hurts our local people. One by one, the rich families of Great Britain are being taken over by our beautiful friends from America. Last week, another important prize joined the list. Lord St. Simon, who has been careful about love for over 20 years, has now said he will marry Miss Hattie Doran, the charming daughter of a California millionaire. Miss Doran, whose lovely body and beautiful face were much noticed at the Westbury house party, is an only child. It is said that her dowry will be more than 6 figures, with more money expected later. Since the Duke of Balmoral had to sell his paintings in recent years, and Lord St. Simon has only a small estate called Birchmoor, it is clear that the Californian's heiress will gain by this marriage, which will help her become a British noblewoman from a Republican lady. Anything else? Asked Holmes, yawning. Yes, much more. Then there is another note in the Morning Post saying the marriage would be very quiet, held at St. George's, Hanover Square, with only 6 close friends invited. The party would go back to a rented house at Lancaster Gate, taken by Mr. Aloysius Doran. 2 days later, on Wednesday last week, there was a short note saying the wedding had happened and the honeymoon would be at Lord Backwater's place near Petersfield. Those were all the news before the bride disappeared. Before the what? Asked Holmes, surprised. The lady disappeared. When did she disappear? At the wedding breakfast. That is very interesting. It sounds like a story with a drama. Yes, it seemed very unusual to me. People often disappear before the wedding or during the honeymoon, but not so soon. Tell me more. The details are not complete. Maybe we can find out more. The story is in a newspaper from yesterday. The title is Strange Event at a Fancy Wedding. I will read it to you. The family of Lord Robert St. Simon is very worried because of strange and sad things at his wedding. The wedding happened the day before, but only now are the strange rumors being confirmed. Friends tried to keep it quiet, but many people are talking about it now. The wedding was quiet at St. George's, Hanover Square. Only the bride's father, Mr. Aloysius Doran, the Duchess of Balmoral, Lord Backwater, Lord Eustace, and Lady Clara St. Simon, the bridegroom's brother and sister, and Lady Alicia Whittington were there. After the wedding, the group went to Mr. Aloysius Doran's house at Lancaster Gate for breakfast. A woman, whose name is not known, tried to enter the house after the wedding group. She said she had a claim on Lord St. Simon. After a long and sad fight, the butler and footman made her leave. The bride had already gone inside before this trouble. She sat down to eat with the others, but then said she felt sick and went to her room. When she stayed gone for a long time, her father went to see her. The maid said the bride came up only for a moment, took a coat and hat, and went quickly to the hall. One footman said he saw a lady leave the house with coat and hat, but he did not believe it was the bride. When the bride's father found out she was missing, he and the bridegroom called the police. The police are looking hard for her and hope to solve the strange case soon. But by late last night, no one knew where the bride was. There are rumors of bad actions, and the police arrested the woman who caused trouble before, thinking she might be involved because of jealousy or other reasons. Is that all? There's one more small note in another newspaper. It is interesting. What is it? Miss Flora Miller, the woman who caused the trouble, has been arrested. She used to be a dancer at the Allegro, and she has known the bridegroom for some years. There are no more details. The whole case is now in your hands, as the newspapers have said. This is a very interesting case. I would not miss it for anything. But the bell just rang, Watson, and it is a little after 4 o'clock. I think our important client is here. Don't think of leaving, Watson. I like having you here as a witness to help me remember. Lord Robert St. Simon, said our page boy, opening the door. A man came in. He had a nice, smart face. His nose was high and his skin pale. His mouth looked a little angry, but his eyes were steady and strong, like a man used to being in charge. He moved quickly, but looked a little old because he walked with a small bend forward and bent knees. His hair was grey around the sides and thin on top. He wore careful clothes, almost too neat. High collar, black coat, white waistcoat, yellow gloves, shiny shoes, and light-colored leg covers. He walked slowly into the room, looking left and right, holding a gold chain with his glasses in his right hand. "Good day, Lord St. Simon," said Holmes, standing up and bowing. "Please have a seat in this basket chair. This is my friend, Dr. Watson. Come closer to the fire and we will talk about your problem." "This is a very sad problem for me, as you can guess, Mr. Holmes. I have been hurt deeply. I know you have solved many hard cases like this, though I think they were not with such rich people." "No, I work for all kinds of people," Holmes said. "Sorry, I meant no offense. My last client like this was a king." "Really? Which king?" "The king of Scandinavia." "Oh, did he lose his wife?" "You understand, I keep all my clients' matters secret, just as I promised you." "Of course. Very good. I'm sorry. For my case, I will give you any information you need." "Thank you. I already know what is in the newspapers, nothing more. I take that information as correct. For example, the article about the bride's disappearance." Lord St. Simon looked at the article. "Yes, that is correct as far as it goes. But there's much more to know before I can decide anything. I will ask you questions to find the facts." "Please do." "When did you first meet Miss Hattie Doran?" "In San Francisco, 1 year ago." "Were you traveling in the USA?" "Yes." "Did you get engaged then?" "No." "But were you friends?" "I enjoyed her company, and she knew." "Her father is very rich." "He is said to be the richest man on the West Coast." "How did he make his money?" "He made his money in mining. A few years ago he had nothing. Then he found gold, invested well, and became very rich quickly." "What do you think about the young lady, your wife's character?" The nobleman moved his glasses faster and looked down at the fire. "You see, Mr. Holmes," he said, "my wife was 20 before her father became rich. During that time she lived free in a mining camp and walked in the woods and mountains. She learned from nature, not from school. In England we call her a tomboy. She is strong, wild, and free. She does not follow old traditions. She is quick to decide and brave to act. But I would not have married her," he cleared his throat, "if I did not believe she was a noble woman deep inside. I think she can make great sacrifices and would never do anything wrong. Do you have her picture?" "I brought this." He opened a locket and showed a small painting of a very beautiful woman. It was not a photo, but a tiny painting on ivory. The artist showed her shiny black hair, big dark eyes, and perfect mouth. Holmes looked at it carefully. Then he closed the locket and gave it back. The young lady came to London, and you met her again? Yes, her father brought her for the last London season. I met her many times, got engaged, and now we are married. I hear she brought a large dowry, a fair dowry, not more than usual in my family. And this money stays with you now because you are married? I have not asked about that. Of course. Did you see Miss Doran the day before the wedding? Yes. Was she happy? Very happy. She talked about our future life. Very interesting. And on the wedding morning, she was very happy until after the ceremony. Did you notice any change? Well, to be honest, I saw her temper was a little sharp for the first time, but it was a small thing and not important to the case. Please tell me about it. It is silly. She dropped her flower bouquet while we walked to the vestry. It fell into the front pew. There was a short pause, then a man in the pew gave it back to her. It was not hurt, but when I spoke to her, she answered sharply. On the way home, she seemed upset about this small thing. Really? You say a man was in the pew? Were some people watching the wedding? Yes, you cannot stop people from watching when the church is open. Was that man a friend of your wife? No. I call him a gentleman politely, but he looked like an ordinary person. I did not pay much attention to him, but I think we are moving away from the main point. So, Lady St. Simon came back from the wedding less happy than before. What did she do when she got to her father's house? I saw her talking to her maid. Who is her maid? Alice is her name. She is American and came from California with her. A trusted servant? Maybe too trusted. It seemed to me her mistress let her do many things, but in America they see these things differently. How long did they talk? Only a few minutes. I was thinking about other things. Did you hear what they said? Lady St. Simon said something about jumping a claim. She used slang like that. I do not know what it means. American slang can be strong. What did your wife do after talking to her maid? She went into the breakfast room. Was she with you? No, she went alone. She liked to do small things by herself. After we sat for about 10 minutes, she stood up quickly, said sorry, and left the room. She never came back. But this maid, Alice, says she went to her room, covered her wedding dress with a long coat, put on a hat, and went outside. Yes, that is right. Later, she was seen walking in Hyde Park with Flora Miller, a woman now in jail who had caused trouble at Mr. Doran's house that morning. Ah, yes. Tell me about this woman and your relationship with her. Lord St. Simon shrugged and raised his eyebrows. We have been friendly for years, very friendly. She worked at the Allegro. I was not bad to her, and she had no good reason to be angry, but you know how women are, Mr. Holmes. Flora was sweet, but quick-tempered and loved me deeply. She sent me angry letters when she heard I was getting married. To be honest, I wanted a quiet wedding because I feared a scandal at church. She came to Mr. Doran's room after we returned and tried to get in, shouting bad words about my wife and even threatening her. But I had 2 policemen there in plain clothes, and they made her leave quickly. She was quiet when she saw it was useless to cause trouble. Did your wife hear this? No, thank goodness, she did not. And she was seen walking with this woman later. Yes, Mr. Lestrade from Scotland Yard thinks this is serious. They believe Flora tricked my wife and set a bad trap for her. That could be true. You think so too? I did not say it is likely, but you don't think it is true? No, I don't think Flora would hurt anyone. Still, jealousy can change people. What is your own idea about what happened? I really came to find ideas, not to give them. But since you ask, I think maybe the excitement of this event and knowing she had made a big social step caused some nervous trouble for my wife. In short, you think she suddenly went mad? Well, yes. When I think she left behind, not me, but many things others want and fail to get, I cannot explain it any other way. That is possible, said Holmes, smiling. Now, Lord St. Simon, I have most of the facts. May I ask if you sat at the breakfast table where you could see out the window? Yes, we could see across the road in the park. Good. Then I will not keep you longer. I will contact you later. If you solve this, please tell me, said Lord St. Simon, standing up. I have solved it. What did you say? I said I have solved it. Then where is my wife? That detail I will give you soon. Lord St. Simon shook his head. I think it will take wiser men than us, he said politely, and then left with a bow. Holmes laughed. It is nice of Lord St. Simon to think my mind is as good as his. I think I will have a whisky and soda and a cigar after all this questioning. I had my idea about the case before he came. My dear Holmes, I know about several similar crimes, though none as quick as this one. Asking questions helped me to be sure. Sometimes small clues are very clear, like finding a fish in the milk, as Thoreau said. But I have heard everything you have heard. Yes, but I also know about older cases. There was one in Aberdeen years ago, and another one like it in Munich after the Franco-Prussian War. This case is like those. Oh, here's Lestrade. Good afternoon, Lestrade. There's an extra glass on the sideboard and cigars in the box. Lestrade, the detective, wore a pea jacket and cravat, looking like a sailor. He carried a black bag. He greeted us, sat down, and lit a cigar. What is happening? Holmes asked with a smile. You look unhappy. Yes, I am unhappy. The St. Simon marriage case is confusing. I don't understand it. Really? That surprises me. Who ever heard of such a mixed-up case? Every clue slips away. I worked on it all day. And it made you wet, said Holmes, touching Lestrade's arm. Yes, I dragged the Serpentine. For what, in heaven's name? To find Lady St. Simon's body. Holmes laughed loudly. Did you drag the fountain basin at Trafalgar Square too? He asked. Why? What do you mean? Because you have the same chance of finding her there as in the Serpentine. Lestrade looked angry. I guess you know all about it, he growled. Well, I just heard the facts, but I am sure of my idea. Oh, do you think the Serpentine is not involved? I think it is very unlikely. Then please explain this. He opened his bag and dropped onto the floor a silk wedding dress, white satin shoes, a wreath and veil, all wet and dirty. He put a new wedding ring on top. Here's a puzzle for you, Master Holmes. Oh, really? Said Holmes, blowing smoke rings. You found these in the Serpentine? No, a park keeper saw them floating near the edge. They were identified as her clothes. I thought if the clothes were there, her body would be close. By that logic, every man's body is near his clothes. What did you expect to find? Proof that Flora Miller was involved in her disappearance. I think that will be hard. Do you really? Lestrade said bitterly. I think, Holmes, that you are not very practical. You made 2 mistakes in 2 minutes. This dress does show Flora Miller's involvement. How? There's a pocket in the dress. In the pocket is a card case. In the card case is a note. Here's the note. He put it on the table. Listen, you will see me when all is ready. Come at once. FHM. My idea all along is that Flora Miller tricked Lady St. Simon. Flora and her friends are likely behind her disappearance. The note, signed with Flora's initials, was probably given quietly to the lady at the door to lure her away. Very good, Lestrade, said Holmes, laughing. Let me see it. He took the paper slowly, but soon looked closely and said, This is important. Huh, you think so? Very much. Well done. Lestrade stood up, proud, and said, You are looking at the wrong side. No, this is the right side. The right side? You're mad. The note is written in pencil here. And here is a piece of a hotel bill, which I find very interesting. There's nothing in it. I looked before. October 4th, rooms 8S, breakfast 2S, 6D, cocktail 1S, lunch 2S, 6D, glass sherry 8D. I see nothing. But it is important. The note is important too, or at least the initials are, so I say, well done again. I've wasted enough time, said Lestrade, standing up. I believe in hard work, not sitting by the fire making fine guesses. Good day, Mr. Holmes. We will see who solves this first. He took the clothes, put them in his bag, and went to the door. Just one hint, Lestrade, said Holmes slowly before he left. I will tell you the real answer. Lady St. Simon is not real. There never was such a person. Lestrade looked sadly at Holmes. Then he turned to me, tapped his forehead 3 times, shook his head sadly, and hurried away. He had just closed the door when Holmes put on his coat. There is truth in what he says about outdoor work, he said. So, Watson, I will leave you to your papers for a while. It was after 5 o'clock when Holmes left, but I was not lonely. Within an hour, a man from a sweet shop came with a large flat box. He unpacked it with a young helper. Soon a fancy cold supper was laid out on our small table. There were 2 pairs of cold woodcock, a pheasant, a patty pie, and some old dusty bottles. After setting all this, my 2 helpers left like magic genies, saying only that it was paid for and sent here. Just before 9 o'clock, Holmes came in quickly. His face was serious, but his eyes shone, and I thought he was not disappointed. You seem to expect guests. There is food for 5. Yes, I think we will have company soon, he said. I'm surprised Lord St. Simon is not here yet. I think I hear his steps on the stairs. It was our visitor from the afternoon, coming in fast, moving his glasses and looking worried. My message reached you then? Asked Holmes. Have you good proof for what you say? Asked Lord St. Simon, sinking into a chair and wiping his forehead. The best proof, said Holmes. What will the Duke say? Murmured Lord St. Simon, when he hears a family member has suffered such shame. It is just an accident. There is no shame in this, Holmes replied. You see it differently, said the nobleman. I don't blame anyone. The lady had no mother to guide her. Her sudden way of leaving was regrettable, but understandable. It was a public insult, sir, said Lord St. Simon, tapping on the table. Think kindly of this poor girl in such a strange position, Holmes said gently. I won't. I am very angry and feel used, Lord St. Simon said. Holmes said, I think I hear the door-bell. Steps came on the landing. If you won't change your mind, I brought someone who might, Holmes said, opening the door. He introduced a lady and gentleman. Lord St. Simon, meet Mr. and Mrs. Francis Hay Moulton. Lady St. Simon, you may know already. Lord St. Simon stood quickly, looking down, hand inside his coat, showing proud anger. The lady stepped forward, holding out her hand, but he did not look up. Her face was full of pleading. You are angry, Robert, she said. I guess you have every reason. Don't apologize to me, Lord St. Simon said bitterly. Mrs. Moulton spoke quickly. I know I treated you badly and should have told you sooner. I was upset. When I saw Frank again, I didn't know what I was doing or saying. I nearly fainted before the altar. Holmes asked, Would you like us to leave the room while you explain? The gentleman said, There's been too much secrecy. I want the world to know the truth. He was small, wiry, sunburned, with a sharp face. Mrs. Moulton began. Frank and I met in 1884 at a mining camp near the Rockies. We were engaged. Then my father struck gold and became rich. Frank's claim failed. My father stopped our engagement and took me to San Francisco. Frank followed me secretly. We made plans ourselves. Frank said he would earn money and come back for me. I promised to wait forever and not marry anyone else. Frank said we should marry quietly right away so I'd be sure. A clergyman was ready, so we did it there. Then Frank went to find his fortune and I returned to my father. The next news was that Frank was in Montana, then Arizona, then New Mexico. Later, a newspaper said a mining camp was attacked by Apaches, and Frank was among the dead. I fainted and was very sick. My father took me to many doctors. No news came for more than a year. I believed Frank was dead. Then Lord St. Simon came to San Francisco. We came to London and the marriage was arranged. My father was happy, but I felt no man could replace Frank in my heart. Still, if I had married Lord St. Simon, I would have done my duty to him. We cannot make ourselves love, but we can choose our actions. I went to the altar with him to be a good wife as much as I could, but you can guess what I felt when I came to the altar raise and looked back. I saw Frank standing and looking at me from the first pew. At first I thought it was his ghost, but when I looked again, he was still there. He had a look like a question in his eyes, asking if I was happy or sad to see him. I think I almost fell. I felt everything was spinning. The priest's words sounded like a bee buzzing in my ear. I did not know what to do. Should I stop the service and make trouble in the church? I looked at Frank again. He seemed to know what I thought. He put his finger to his lips to tell me to be quiet. Then I saw him write on a piece of paper. I knew he was writing me a note. When I passed his pew on the way out, I dropped my flower bouquet to him. He gave me the note when he gave back my flowers. The note asked me to come to him when he made a sign. Of course, I knew my first duty was to him now. I decided to do whatever he told me. When I got back, I told my maid. She knew Frank from California and was always his friend. I told her to say nothing. I told her to pack some things and get my coat ready. I knew I should have talked to Lord St. Simon, but it was very hard with his mother and all the important people there. I decided to run away and explain later. I had not been at the table 10 minutes before I saw Frank through the window on the other side of the road. He called me with his hand and started walking into the park. I slipped out, put on my things, and followed him. A woman talked to me about Lord St. Simon, but I think she said he had a secret before marriage too. I got away from her and soon caught up with Frank. We got into a taxi and went to some rooms he had in Gordon Square. That was my real wedding after all the years I waited. Frank was a prisoner of the Apaches. He escaped, went to San Francisco, found I thought he was dead and had gone to England, followed me there and found me on the morning of my second wedding. I saw it in a paper, said the American. It gave the name and church, but not where the lady lived. Then we talked about what to do. Frank wanted to be open, but I was so ashamed that I wanted to disappear and never see anyone again. Maybe just send a short note to my father to show I was alive. It was terrible to think of all the lords and ladies waiting for me at breakfast. So Frank took my wedding clothes and things and made a bundle. He hid them where no one could find them. We might have gone to Paris the next day, but this kind man, Mr. Holmes, came to see us that evening. I do not know how he found us. He kindly showed us that I was wrong and Frank was right. He said it was wrong to hide it like that. Then he offered to help us talk to Lord St. Simon alone. So we went to see his rooms right away. Now, Robert, you have heard everything. I am sorry if I have hurt you. I hope you do not think badly of me. Lord St. Simon did not relax. He listened with a frown and tight lips to the long story. Excuse me, he said, but I do not talk about my private life in public. Then you will not forgive me. You will not shake hands before I leave. Oh, yes, if it will make you happy. He put out his hand and took hers coldly. I hoped, said Holmes, that you would come and have dinner with us. I think that is too much, said Lord St. Simon. I must accept what happened, but I cannot be happy about it. With your permission, I will say good night. He bowed to all of us and left the room. Then I hope you will join me, said Sherlock Holmes. It is always good to meet an American, Mr. Morton. I believe one day our children will live in one world under a flag with the Union Jack and the Stars and Stripes. The case was interesting, said Holmes, after our guests left. It shows how simple the truth can be in a story that first seems very strange. The lady's story was very natural, but it seemed strange to Mr. Lestrade from Scotland Yard. So you were not wrong at all. From the start, two things were clear to me. One, the lady wanted to get married. Two, she changed her mind soon after going home. Something must have happened that morning to make her change her mind. She did not speak to anyone alone because the bridegroom was with her. Did she see someone? If yes, it must be an American. She had been here for a short time and could not have met anyone else who could make her change so much. We guessed she saw an American. But who? Why did he have so much power over her? Maybe he was a lover or her husband. I knew her young life was hard and strange. I thought this before I heard Lord St. Simon's story, when he told us about a man in the pew, about the change in the bride, about the bouquet note, about her maid, and her talk of claim jumping, which means taking what belongs to another. The story became clear. She ran away with a man. The man was either a lover or a husband. It was likely he was her husband. And how did you find them? It was not easy, but my friend Lestrade had useful information without knowing it. The initials were important, but even more useful was that the man paid his bill at a very fancy hotel in London just a week ago. How did you know it was a fancy hotel? By the high prices. 8 shillings for a bed and 8 pence for a glass of sherry meant it was one of the most expensive hotels. There are not many like that in London. At the second hotel I visited on Northumberland Avenue, I found in the book that Francis H. Moulton, an American gentleman, had left only the day before. I saw the same items on his bill as in the papers I had. His letters were sent to 226 Gordon Square, so I went there. Luckily, I found the couple at home. I gave them some fatherly advice. I told them it would be better to make their situation clear to the public, and especially to Lord St. Simon. I asked them to meet him here, and as you see, I made him come. But it did not go well, I said. He was not very kind. Ah, Watson, said Holmes, smiling, maybe you would not be kind either if, after all the work of loving and marrying, you suddenly lost your wife and money. I think we should forgive Lord St. Simon and be glad we are not in his place. Now, come closer and give me my violin. The only problem left is how to spend these cold autumn evenings.